Are live, we are live, we are live. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Welcome to TheTwenty, episode 3 this week. Winners and losers. How about that then? Let's start first off with the Friday night game. Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0. Tell us all about it. Resulted in Dean Smith sacking from Aston Villa, so obviously not great in the Aston Villa camp. Another team has had a wobble with a manager. I am very shocked. Martin's not shocked. Martin's going to tell us about how this was the right thing to do, etc., etc. But Dean Smith's gone. Southampton 1, Aston Villa 0. Talk me through it.
Well, Aston Villa have been a little bit of a sliding momentum for the last few games. I think they've lost their last 4, 5. They got smashed at home a couple of times, especially by West Ham 4-1. Got beat by Wolves. And I think going to Southampton, I know it only ended 1-0, but it could have been 2, 3-0. They were totally outplayed, outfought, out everything. And if you just look at Dean Smith on the sidelines, he was a dejected man. He was a lost man. I remember I did say a couple of weeks back that I did think he was about to go and lose his job. And I didn't really rate him as a manager. And I suppose when you spend 100-odd million and you're like 4th, 5th from bottom, there's only one way you're going to go from there, innit? And that's out the door.
Well, we're going to hear Rich and Ryan talk about it in a second, but I think it's a heads gone. I think it's a heads gone, just like the other sackings. Steve Bruce from Newcastle, they are a sinking ship. They're going to get relegated anyway. Why not leave Steve Bruce in charge? Same for Norwich, who have also this weekend sacked Daniel Farke. It's the managerial sack race. Why bother? Because Daniel Farke is the best man to get you back out of the Championship and back into the Premiership when you inevitably get relegated. Don't understand it. Rich?
I tend to agree. I was surprised he was, feeling like he was at risk of losing his job after only 4 defeats. I think that's now 5, but to me it seems too soon. He's had Ings out recently. He's had a lot of injuries, and going away to Southampton, even if Villa were in form, is still not. It's still a good point for them down there. So it just seems to me ridiculous, but it may be the panic setting in because there are, some good managers available or some good managers at other clubs who may be gettable. And it may be they're all just panicking that if they don't act now, they're going to be further back in the queue for the managers they want. But unless you've got one lined up, it's stupid. I mean, Newcastle have it's just ridiculous. They should have sacked Bruce when they had the manager lined up. I know we got stick for it, but like we did with Hughes and Mancini, why put yourself at that exposure, at that risk, and weaken your negotiating position like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the comparison we'll draw is the fact that we did it to Mark Hughes, but Mancini was already ready waiting in the stands, and we had a plan. Newcastle, what's the plan? Yeah. What is the plan? Right, anyway, so back to Southampton and Villa. Villa lost again. Yes, Southampton won. So Southampton are doing what they usually do. They're plodding away at a Premier League season and grinding out results, and they'll be safe as usual. Nothing too exciting, nothing underwhelming, nothing overwhelming. Ryan, do you want a word on the sacking of Dean Smith?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a surprise that it didn't cross my mind that he'd get sacked. I was downstairs at work today, saw the message in the WhatsApp chat saying that he got the sack, and I didn't really bat an eyelid to it. He was the manager I predicted would get sacked first last year. I don't overly rate him as a manager, but I mean, he spent 100 million. He spent loads when he first came up, and lost 5 games in a row, 7 losses, 3 wins from 11 games. I mean, I wouldn't say it's overly surprising. I don't think Villa will be any worse for it, regardless of who they bring in. It's just.
So as you can see, it's polarised.
I'm happy for it.
It's polarised even in us 4, because I think it's a heads gone. I really do. They've given him all that money to spend, And for me, they've not really given him enough time to get the worth out of it. Right, anyway, so let's move on to the Saturday fixtures. The early kickoff, Manchester United 0, Manchester City 2. We all loved it. Rich and Ryan, we haven't had your reaction on it yet, but I will say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as it stands, still in a job. How about that then? Rich and Ryan?
It was, I have to say, it was the most one-sided derby I've ever seen. During the game, we talked about it last week, but the City for big games turned up. The City that turned up at Liverpool and turned up at Chelsea, turned up at Old Trafford, but they didn't have to play with the same intensity they did at Anfield and Stamford Bridge. They realised that pretty quickly, and it was just an absolute cruise. It was one of the easiest wins we'll see. They could not get near the ball most of the game. They set up to defend, and they haven't got the players with the ability to defend in discipline, even with the 7 of them. And we just passed around the pitch and occasionally got a couple of goals. De Gea had a good game in terms of some good saves, but I still think he had a bit of a heads gone moment for our second. And that, to be a great keeper, you can't have 4 great saves followed by a heads wobble moment seconds later, especially if you're not a brilliant footballer, like our lad Edison is. So yeah, just really easy, really dominant. We probably should have been 4 or 5, and probably in that sense the least exciting derby I've ever seen, because I don't remember once during the game, actually, apart from one Ronaldo shot, ever actually worrying they were going to come back into it.
Yeah, I have to say, Addy just said there in the chat, we emasculated them. We did. Has anyone ever seen a cat play with a mouse or play with a bird or play with a spider?
Yeah.
Where they just keep batting them side to side, side to side to side. The cat is expending very little energy doing it, and the spider or the mouse or the bird is moments from death. And they're just toying with them, playing with them. And I really feel as if yesterday Manchester City could have gone on straight away after the end of the game and played another 90 minutes against another Premier League team, because we didn't have to do anything. Yeah. It was so dominant that we didn't have to do anything, and that sounds like an oxymoron a little bit, but yeah. So kind of crazy. Ryan, your brief thoughts on the derby?
Yeah, it was a simple enough game. Ronaldo escaped a red card for the second game in a row. Both of which probably should have been sent off for. It was simple enough. I think, as both me and Rich said, we were confident going into it that we'd dominate the game. And we did, really. It was a simple enough game for us to win. Obviously a derby, so a bit more in it than just that, but United didn't overly bother us, so simple enough.
Yeah, it was. Well, we're happy, and we're even more happy as well today after the results that we'll talk about in a little bit. Brentford against Norwich. Norwich got their first win of the season, but didn't stop themselves from sacking their manager Daniel Farke. You already know my thoughts on Daniel Farke. You already know my thoughts on Norwich and their chances of escaping survival. I don't think they will do, no matter even if they employ Pep Guardiola tomorrow. Brentford lost. I think, is this again another Brentford loss on the bounce?
Yeah.
Tell me about it, gentlemen.
Brentford are on this slide very much like Villa now. And it's a shame because they've come up with all that momentum and they've played some nice football. But unfortunately, the what's the word I'm thinking of? The sort of newbies, the not knowing what to expect, sort of gone very quickly from Brentford.
Yeah, well, usually the accusation that you can level at a promoted team is that they play without fear for a little while, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what they've sort of that's gone now? Now they're playing.
I think especially yesterday, getting beat by Norwich at home, that will have worried their players, their manager, and their fans, because they will be sat there going, "Oh." Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think for the first month and a half they thought they were going to be in a relegation fight. I didn't. I think they thought they were going to come up and do a Villa and do Sheffield United in the first year and a Leeds and be sort of comfortably mid-table or just below. And before they've blinked, they're banging a relegation battle. And the problem is with Brentford now, I'm not sure they've got it to get out. They've got Tony up top. So that's the one saving grace they've got. They've got goals that will get them out. But I'm not sure, because they're a bit of an unknown, where they do. Regarding Daniel Farke, the comment has come out from Norwich that sacking him was giving them their best chance to stay up because they wanted to do it early, very much like Chelsea did last season with Lampard. Get it done early so they can get someone to get going. They didn't want to sack him later on, and then there's no chance of anything. At this stage, I still don't think they've got any chance, but I think the idea in their mind is we've got some chance at this point by cutting our losses now.
I mean, there's some logic to that in that a manager can come in, train with the club for 6 weeks before they get a transfer window to address a few weaknesses. So I can see that. I think Brentford, in a way, were a bit hurt by... They could have walked away from Chelsea and Liverpool games with 6 points. I think, they were arguably the better side in both of those games, and they saw that you can dominate a team like Liverpool, but Liverpool have a cutting edge that Brentford just don't have. And I think that gap in quality showed in a couple of games and probably cost them a number of points that their performances they might have felt they deserved. And then that just hits your confidence a little bit. And the next thing you know, things are getting tough. And whereas I saw, Palace probably were similar in not quite getting the results of few performances. They held on to draw a lot of those games, didn't lose, and they've slowly built forward, whereas Brentford seem to be slowly now dropping backwards. So I think they'll probably find themselves in the mix for relegation now, because they do have a few players who can be a bit dogs of war, especially up front. So, I wouldn't be writing them off. I think they're still a shout for getting the points, but they'll be in the mix.
Yeah, I think the thing with Farke is that I don't think Farke is going to keep them up. I don't think anyone's overly going to keep them up at all. But I don't think Farke, with the football he plays, had any chance. Whereas if you bring in probably a more defensive coach per se,
Sam Allardyce.
Yeah, if you bring in your big Sam, your Bruce, whatever you want to, whoever, you're more likely to stay in the league playing crap football, but as it always is, keep it more solid at the back, whatever, than you are currently playing the way you are, where you're open, but you're more attacking, but you're so open and you just lose every game and you don't overly challenge. So while they may lose a bit of what they've had, say, the last few years where they've come up and they've been more entertainers, but they've got relegated easily, I think this year, if they bring in the right manager, they could at least maybe have that little bit extra. Probably not to keep them in the league. I think it's probably already too late and they don't have the players for it at the moment. But that's just the way they seem to be set up. And I don't think utterly sacking Farke's going to make a difference, because I think even if you have a crap, boring manager, he's going to get you promoted from the Championship next year anyway. I think this is more on Brentford and Brentford's downfall in the last few weeks, which we're continuing to see. Just can't seem to get a result, which they were picking up at the start of the season.
Yeah. Right, so let's move on to the Chelsea-Burnley game. Chelsea dropped more points. Our title rivals, our very, very, well, in my opinion at least, our main title rivals, dropping points against Burnley. Now, is this Burnley just showing their Premier League resilience that's kept them in the league for a long time? I'd say yes. Is this Chelsea just having a little bit of a blip? Yes. It's no worse than our blips, the draw against Southampton and the loss against Crystal Palace. Martin completely wrote them off when he saw that they drew 1-1. He wrote Lukaku off before the season even started. But gentlemen, tell me about it. Why did Chelsea only get a point against Burnley?
They missed chances, and they didn't. They looked. It was a bit like one of the City games, really. A lot of, they got a fair bit of ball and they gave themselves some chances, but they just didn't really look like they had the shooting boots on. And I think it's a reminder. I think even some on this channel and a lot in the media, I think, are a bit guilty of overrating Chelsea and underrating City. I think that Chelsea are a very good team. They've got a very solid squad, but they're just as capable of dropping easy points as we are. And I don't think that their peak is as good as ours, as we showed when we played them. So I think Chelsea will be there or thereabouts to the end of the season, but I certainly don't fear them. And I think it's right at the moment that City are the favourites for the Premier League. But do I read a massive amount into them not beating Burnley? Not really. I read into that the same as I read into the Southampton game. They weren't on their game, and an away team came and did a solid job. And that's happened to us a couple of times this season. I think it'll happen to Chelsea again, and I've got no doubt it will happen to us again this season. I just think that when the big games come, we'll be one step higher than Chelsea, which is why I still fancy us to win the league.
I think a point that you can carry on from something you said there about the media overrating, say, Chelsea, is when you look at the Chelsea team, Lukaku and Werner both out. Chelsea didn't have a striker, and with the success that Liverpool have had with Firmino, and then City obviously had last year without a striker, there's a way the media and some fans can also overrate how a team performs without a striker. Hudson-Odoi isn't a striker, more of a winger. Havertz, attacking midfielder, playing probably in that more false nine role as, say, a striker would or whatever. And then obviously Barkley playing. So it was a weakened Chelsea side. They were missing both main two strikers. And Werner, whilst he doesn't get the goals that, say, you'd want your number 9 to get, or your number 10, whatever. He does so much running in that forward line for Chelsea that really can't be overlooked. And without that, when they're playing with a front two, because obviously last year it was Havertz and Werner that were the front two. Now it's the main front two is Werner and Lukaku. Werner does all of that running, and Lukaku is there to get the goals. And without both of them, they just miss so much up front. And I think that's obviously going to contribute it. And Burnley are always going to be a threat at some point in the game. And they proved it late in the game the weekend.
Yeah, I must admit, I rate Werner as he got a lot of stick last year, but I rate Werner as a player. I'd quite like to see what Werner would look like playing almost like a semi-false nine for us, because he's one of the few players in the Premier League who's got the work rate, and I think he's actually got quite a good tactical brain. So I actually rate him.
Wow. Okay. I'm with Rich on the Chelsea part, because I was one who didn't think Chelsea were as good as everyone was saying. For me, Tommy, you look at Tuchel, he's a very pragmatic manager. Doesn't do anything overly fancy. I know they're beating teams, they've walloped a couple of teams this year, but that's generally not what Tuchel does. Tuchel generally gets 1 or 2 goals max, and then keeps the back door closed. Clean sheet merchant. And that was always my worry for Chelsea, is as soon as they got a couple of injuries. And the thing is with them as well, drawing with Burnley, yes, we drew with Southampton, admittedly, I get that. But the Palace game, Palace are on, I think they're on we'll get onto that in a bit, they're on like a 5-game winning run at the minute. Palace are flying. Burnley are not. Burnley are not flying. Burnley are a flat tire right now, not doing a great deal. And they are the draw specialists. But even still, to go to Stamford Bridge and get a draw, let's put it on, mate. If Palace was playing, Chelsea played Palace at the start when it was a new manager, new team. So it was, I think if Chelsea played Palace now, I think they'd have a good chance of getting beat right now by Palace the way they're playing. But I know we would beat Burnley right now.
In over 5 games. I think, well, yeah, we beat Burnley 4 games ago, but that's the only game they've lost in the last 5. They got a win the game before this.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The general draw specialists aren't there.
Yeah, 3 draws in the last 5.
Got drawing.
Burnley's always going to be a tough team regardless of what form they're in, realistically. That's just the way that Burnley are. I think it's more of what Chelsea were missing than what Burnley provided to the game. I think if Chelsea have that front line there available, getting the goals, I think it's probably a different story, because they had 25 shots against Burnley and only 4 of them were on target. Most of the possession, it was... If you get that focal point up front, then it's probably a different game.
Yeah, I do think Chelsea will be our closest rivals. I just think we're going to pit them at the end, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All agreed.
I don't like it when Rob goes quiet because I've never known.
He's just disagreeing with us. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm not one of you. I'm not one of you modern fans or one of you fair weather fans that think everything's fine and we don't have any competition and we're miles above the rest. It's waffle.
We don't have any competition.
Rich dismissed Chelsea and he said that we're by far the best team in the league. Blah blah blah. Martin's City till he dies, and he thinks that City can never do wrong. He thinks Pep Guardiola's Jesus. Blah blah blah. Chelsea are well and truly in this title race. All right. Write them off at your own peril, and so are Liverpool, who we'll talk about in a bit.
And I think, Rob, I don't think anyone has written Chelsea off. I think
I'm just clear.
I've just said the
Let's move along. Stop.
No question.
Stop. I'll become very German in a minute and send you all to the back of the class. Crystal Palace Wolves. Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 0. Tell me about it.
Oh, Palace is Palace. If you ever want to see what a new manager does for a team, look at the Aaron Palace. He's changed them. At the end of the season, Hodgson was being retired. I think he'd have been pushed anyway, never mind retired, because they were playing pragmatic, boring football. Boy, have they changed themselves. They have totally 306 turned around. They're playing some lovely attacking football, free-flowing. They've got Zaha moving. It's a bit of a revelation at the moment. They're keeping clean sheets as well as scoring at the moment, which is not something Palace generally do. When Palace generally win, it's 2-1 or 1, it's not generally 2-3-0. That isn't generally the Palace way. So he's totally changed them around. And I had doubts on Vieira as manager. I really did. I thought his struggles at Nice, because he was tagged as a future Manchester City manager. Not saying he should be now, I'm just saying he was. But then he had that stint in Nice and wasn't great. And when he came into Palace, I thought, that's a bit of a gamble. But whether it's just the first job and everything's flying, we'll see Vieira properly when the pressure gets on him. But right now, they are flying, literally. The Eagles are soaring at the moment.
I think with Palace, was... Go on, Rich.
I was going to say, I think it wasn't just, a Vieira gamble. It was actually, didn't they release 14 players or something over the summer? And they signed new players, and nearly all the new players were kids. So they signed young players. I know there's a couple on loan, which unfortunately they won't get to keep.
Guehi from Chelsea and Anderson, 21, 25, both 21, 16 million for the two. Gallagher on loan, 21 again. Olise from Reading was 8.5 mil. He's 19. So it was a lot of young signings that they brought in.
It's incredible. But I think with Vieira, what you do get is you get a footballer who, as a footballer, was at the top of world football, and who has had an apprenticeship in management. He hasn't just come from being a player into being a manager. He had some time at City learning the ropes from some very top coaches. He had some time in New York and then Nice. So he has built into the job, actually building gradually, learning a bit. So I think, he'll have tremendous respect from people as a player, but I think he has also cut his teeth a bit as a manager. But it was a huge gamble to bring in a new manager, bring in a load of kids, and then go into a Premier League season. And I think, I'm not a Palace fan by any means. They're not a team I particularly like, but fair play to them. It's a gamble that I wish more clubs would take. And it's so much better to see that coming up against you, even if they did beat us, than, the typical, let's try and get a load of players who've beaten a few relegations in the past and let's long ball our way to staying up with 39 points. It's great to see what Palace are trying to do. Fair play to them.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right, let's move on. Brighton Newcastle, 1-1. Graham Potter, apparently the man touted to be everyone's next manager. Is Graham Potter going to Newcastle? Is he going to Villa? Is he going to Norwich? Is he going to Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich, Man City, Man United? Where the hell is he going? Because apparently he's the latest, greatest thing in football. Graham Potter, Brighton, 1. Newcastle, nobody, 0. 1, sorry. Derp.
I actually rate Potter. I think Brighton this season, they did get exposed by our quality, but I think this season they've been great. They should have won at Anfield last weekend. They tore Liverpool apart at times. I actually think the best of those jobs for Potter would be Villa, in that Villa would be a step up. But I think Newcastle's going to be a car crash season. I think they're so dangerous going downwards. I think Villa a lot more chance of staying up. Brighton, like Palace, they're the two sides for me who are, impressing me from the sides who could be down the bottom, but are playing good football, got good coaches, and some really good players that, weren't top dollar.
Martin, can I just say that when you're not talking and you just sat there, you look like you're thinking of a really big number. Can you get your little red ball out and start balancing it on your nose when other people are talking? Ryan, do you have anything to say about Brighton and Newcastle before we move on to today's games?
Hang on, can I not say
Get your little red ball out, Martin.
Not particularly. On the Brighton Newcastle game, I think Brighton obviously were probably the better side over the course of the game. But Newcastle are probably the team we want to focus on more. Again, it's a negative performance. They were outplayed over the course of the game. One shot on target in the entirety 9 minutes. So I think, as we discussed, Steve Bruce sacking him, probably not the right option. I think they'll probably end up going down at the end of the season. Brighton overperforming at the moment, but they haven't won in over five games now. 4 draws and a loss. So
I was about to say that.
It's going to be tough for Brighton. I think they'll start to slip down the table slightly. But yeah, they'll be fine. I think Newcastle's a team we more worry for at the bottom of the table.
Yeah. So do you reckon there's a chance that Steve Bruce might end up at Norwich? Go
No,
back
probably.
to his football.
Steve Bruce said he's done. Steve Bruce said he's done. Said he's done with football now. I think the Newcastle job killed Bruce. I think it killed him. And listen, Newcastle even got a manager yet. Eddie Howe's agreed, but apparently their assistant manager they can't agree on. So that deal.
But Eddie Howe, I mean, he kept Bournemouth in the league, but for a year.
See, this is what I've said.
Fell off. I think Eddie Howe would do better at a job, say, higher up the table at an Everton, at a Leicester, maybe a Southampton,
Yeah.
a Wolves, but not battling relegation. I don't think that's
he
his
kept Bournemouth
level.
up. Yeah, he kept Bournemouth up for quite a few years, but it wasn't dogs of war. He got Bournemouth playing in a certain way that he built over many, many years, and that
then as
way
soon
they
as it got
played was
caught,
enough to keep
he
him up.
was in the mud.
He can't get Newcastle. He won't. It will take him 18 months to get
They
Newcastle.
still haven't won a game this
organised
season.
like Bournemouth
Even
were.
Norwich have won a game now.
Right. Arf, Martin, Arf. Clap those hands. Come on, Seal Boy. Martin, put your arms in the air wildly. Go on. Come on. Martin, do it. Come on.
Can't.
Martin.
Jazz
Martin.
hands.
Jazz hands, Martin. Do something quick. There, good boy. Good boy. Give him a fish. Right, Martin, feed him a fish. Rich, feed him a fish. Right. Sunday's
Yeah, but
games.
I want to know, does the person in the chat realise that we're taking the piss?
Anyway, Sunday's games. Arsenal, Watford. Arsenal 1, Watford 0. Tell me all about it.
Well, can I go to the VAR thing?
There's 3 games here that are very boring and nobody cares about the 6 teams involved. Let's spend the most time on spam and dippers. But that's Arsenal, Watford. Talk me through it. 1-0 Arsenal. Arsenal are going to win every competition this year. Yeah, they're going to win the league this year. They're going to win Europe. They're going to win everything they're in.
They're rejuvenated.
Well,
they had another good performance. Smith Rowe's really coming out of his.
Let's wait to said here. Let's not go from the getting relegated to the winning the league now. Come on.
I didn't. No, Mike. The
Jesus.
thing is, I didn't say they were getting relegated. I said they'd be top 4. Even when he was saying they were going to get relegated.
I was the only right. Let's put Ryan.
Four,
let's put things right. I was the only one who said that they potentially could get relegated, and wouldn't it be great? I didn't say they were getting relegated. Right. I know you don't understand English that well because you're from Carlisle where they speak dumb. But let's move on from that. Arsenal are the best team in the world on form right now, apparently, and I'm sure you love them and wax lyrical about it. And I'm surprised you're not actually an Arsenal fan, and you probably would be if they played in the German league. But they beat Watford.
If Arsenal played in the German league, of course. Well, no, I'd be a Colin fan because we have a goat as our club mascot.
They beat Watford 1-0. Mikel Arteta, the greatest man ever in football. You know, he taught Pep everything he knows. Blah blah blah. Rich, have you got anything to say on it before we move on to the next game?
I think everyone overreacted when Arsenal were playing at the beginning of the season with a lot of players out.
Yeah.
They stuck by Arteta, and in a way, Arteta's trying to do what I think Ollie can't do, and that is he's actually trying to build a philosophy and build a way of playing, and at times he's been a bit stubborn on that, and that's cost them games, but it will actually get them somewhere, and it will actually make them a team with an identity, a way of playing. Whereas I actually think, I don't know whether they'll be top 4, but I think, they'll get enough. They've got enough quality and they'll get enough points to certainly be there or thereabouts in that, 6th to 4th type area by the end of the season.
Sorry, hang on. They'll be there or thereabouts.
For 6th, 5th, 4th place, I think they'll be.
You're all waffle.
Yeah, I
West
think
Ham
they'll
will
be
win in the
battling
league.
United. I think they'll be battling United for that 4th place spot.
Great, fantastic. Right, can we bloody well move on
This
to
is what I
Everton
mean by A to Z.
Right, Tottenham a team. Tottenham got to put a 0-0 draw against Everton. Everton a team, according to Cal Blundell, that were winning the league this year, versus a team that won the league on the first day of the season. Why was it a 0-0 draw? Why was it boring? I thought Harry Kane, all of you lot, Rich, Martin, Ryan, everyone in the chat, you were all saying that I was an idiot for writing off Harry Kane because you all said he's the best striker in the world. Well, he's not. He's absolute shite.
What?
Tottenham are absolute shite. And they got a 0-0 draw against Everton. So tell me all about it. Tell me why it was a 0-0 draw. Because apparently the best team ever formed on Merseyside played and scored no goals, and the best team from London scored no goals. So tell me all about it.
Apparently there was
no one thinks Spurs are the best team in London. No one.
No, I don't think any one of us claimed that Harry Kane was great either. I was against Harry Kane from the start.
Listen, it was a typical Conte performance, great determination, clean sheet.
And same with the typical Benitez performance as well.
I think with Spurs, the one thing you've got to mention is the fact that how quickly they've switched to that back three with Ben Davies as the third centre-back.
But that's what Conte does. Conte plays threes. That's what he does.
I mean, there's obviously, when you first come into a new job, if you want switching from a back three to a back four and vice versa, there is no like mean feat or whatever. So it's how quickly you come in and you are able to implement that system. And so the fact that he's managed to get a clean sheet in the first game, like first Premier League game, first proper game, is a good sign for him. But again, two holding midfielders as well, Højbjerg and Oliver Skip. It's not going to be great football for Spurs fans to endure.
And that is a massive problem at Spurs. Massive problem at Spurs because they tolerate not winning stuff if they're playing, flamboyant football. They tolerate coming
under
fourth.
Pochettino, playing good football.
Conte goes 5 games without
compared to what they're watching now. Yeah.
He's going to get smashed by the fans because, there is definitely an identity at Spurs in our lifetime where they've generally tried to play attacking football, and they've had some flamboyant wingers, many of them over the years, and Conte's the antithesis of that for me. So I think he's got to do well, or they're going to be looking to fire another manager by the end of the season.
Oh, I can't believe you stretched this talk about two insignificant waffle merchant teams out for 3 minutes. Right, Leeds-Leicester, 1-1 draw. Leeds, who have got the greatest manager ever. Martin said the other day, and this is on record, that if Pep Guardiola fell off a bridge tomorrow, he'd instantly recruit Bielsa. And then after he made that statement, he then went on to said, "Oh wait, if Brendan Rodgers ever becomes available, I'll have his children if he comes to City." So tell me.
Excuse me, sorry. When did I say all that?
But I mean,
did you?
I've got it on record. Right, I'm going to play the clip back right now. Hiya, I'm Martin. I love Bielsa, but I love Brendan Rodgers more. See, it's on record, Martin. You can't deny these things, right? Come on, 1-1 draw, Leeds-Leicester.
Both underachieving.
1-1 draw. I mean,
I'm keeping quiet here today.
Fine.
Anyhow.
Yeah, 1-1 draw. Leeds had more shots. Leeds probably slightly edged the game, but other than that, 1-1 draw is probably fair.
So you're not going to talk about the VAR incident or anything like that. You're just going to go 1-1 draw. Yeah, there.
We'll leave that for you.
What do you mean the VAR incident? Like the.
So as you can see, Ryan Corrie went really in depth in these
Ryan
games.
doesn't watch football. I don't know why Ryan's on the Premier League. So he don't watch the Premier League. Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
What's the VAR incident?
Here we go. Get that ball out, Martin. It's time to do a dance. Distract the audience. No, honestly, though, yeah. So Leeds drew with Leicester. Martin, you wanted to make a point about VAR, so make your point about VAR. Because I've got a point to make about VAR after you make your point. But your point will be covered in love for Brendan Rodgers.
VAR has been very instrumental this weekend. Tottenham had, I don't think I've seen it used as much as what it has been this weekend. You had the Tottenham penalty get overturned. You had the Leicester winner ruled out by a player interfering with play. You had the Aaron Cresswell incident down at West Ham, which I'm starting to. What's bugging me with VAR is the inconsistency of it. I don't know anymore what he's offside.
Yeah. But it's always been inconsistent, Martin, and the offside rule changes every rule changes every year. Handball changes every year.
Yeah, I understand that, Ryan. But the offside rule changed, but it hasn't really changed. Yeah. Because it changes depending on what shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, it was mentioned in the stadium during the Palace game. Like, didn't they change VAR for like the tight offsides where it was?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what
or whatever. But it's
like today. We'll get on to it. The Aaron Cresswell. That's a red card any day of the week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin, you're having a mare on that one, mate. I will say that Cristiano Ronaldo should have got sent off yesterday, but we're glad he didn't because the more games.
Bruno.
Yeah, and possibly Bruno, but the more games that Ronaldo plays for United, the more deluded they are. So I'm fine that he's not getting any bans. I saw one before in the Everton game in the last couple of minutes. I think it was when Digne Digne put it out and stopped them scoring a goal, which was good. But then after that, there was an outstretched leg from somebody else, and it wasn't. And I saw the replay of the referee reviewing it, and he was only watching the footage in slow motion. And real time compared to slow motion makes things look so different.
Oh yeah,
so different. And the referee was only watching it in slow motion, and he sent an Everton player off, and it was just dumb. The implementation of VAR is just so skewed and stupid, and they should never be allowed to witness things in slow motion. The only thing that VAR should do is give a referee a second opportunity to review something that has occurred, and a referee should only be given a second opportunity to review that thing in real time, because it's real-time decisions that referees have to make, and this should only be supplemental real-time evidence and not 78 angles like the Matrix, and also slowed down, because it completely changes the emphasis in some situations.
100%.
It should only be ever a real-time review.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got to say on VAR. Right, let's move on to the most important game of the weekend, because apparently it's more important than the Manchester derby. West Ham 3, Liverpool 2, and I want to say first, before I let you all get your 2 cents on it, when West Ham were running at Liverpool in the second half especially, Trent Alexander-Arnold looked like a lost kitten. Thunderbird 4, Virgin van Dijk, awful backpedaler.
yeah.
Robertson, awful
when
backpedaler.
you saw it in the City game,
Matip
when
should have
we
been
ran
sent
at
off.
them.
Yeah, no, I know, Ryan, but I want other teams to watch that game back and learn that if you run at the centre of Liverpool, they absolutely crumble. They crumble. So tell me about it, West Ham.
Yeah.
And again, let me just say, and I am saying this as a little bit of a joke, so don't get overly serious on it. David Moyes was sacked from Manchester United after a few months in charge. Okay, he was never given the chance. Never given the chance that he was supposed to. Alex Ferguson, the greatest football manager in football history, told Manchester United to give David Moyes a chance. They didn't give him a chance, and here we are 7 years later, and David Moyes is working wonders with West Ham and Manchester United, and are an absolute all-out shambles. Gentlemen, tell me about it.
Yeah, no, well, I agree with you on specifically the point of when you get at that Liverpool defence. It's an accusation that was levelled at City for a good 3-4 years, where if you get at our defence, they crumble. And like you saw it in the game between City and Liverpool, when Bernardo ran at their team, you had everyone fall, everyone was just running backwards. Van Dijk fell flat on his face, and it caused them problems. And again, the majority, like that second goal from Fornals, which again, Alisson should have saved, which he was at fault for pretty much every goal. The defence couldn't deal with Fornals and the West Ham team running at them, and the other two were both corner goals that Alisson should have just really dealt with, but he was too busy dealing with Mikel Antonio just casually bending over beside him. So I don't know what Alisson was doing for any of the goals, to be honest, but if you get at that Liverpool defence, they do seem to fall apart. Van Dijk hasn't been the same since his injury. I don't think Matip's the second strongest defender there. I think Konate is better than him. I think he's better than Gomez, but the fullbacks, same as City, they're pushed so high up the pitch. You have that space to run into, really. And neither of them are the best going.
Well, Ryan, just
back,
quickly on your
so...
point there, I'm going to say something audacious, but Liverpool haven't got a single defender that are getting the City team. Not one. Not one. Van Dijk's massively overrated. Matip's massively overrated.
As the second defender, I think Van Dijk gets in purely because...
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He's aged out, he's injured, and he's overrated. Richard, in between dog barks, tell us how you feel, mate.
Well, I actually quite rate Andy Robertson as their best defender. So at the moment, I wouldn't pick him over Cancelo, because what Cancelo's offering going forwards is out of this world. And
yeah, Cancelo's the best left back and right back in the league.
Yeah, I mean, the talk going on about Arnold, the talk about Arnold and what he offers, he's not as good a footballer as Cancelo, and as a defender, Walker is head and shoulders above.
I'm sorry, but we had somebody yesterday telling us that Kyle Walker can't cross an attacking ball to save his life. But did anyone watch the United game? Kyle Walker's attacking play yesterday was phenomenal. He is the best. Kyle Walker is the best right back in world football. Let's not have this waffle about Cancelo. Cancelo is bang average defensively, and he's only good going forward. Now, I know that you keep saying that you need to be good at attacking. Fine. Cancelo is very good at attacking, but he is bang average at defending, and don't you ever write off Kyle Walker again. Best right back in the world. Rich.
Agree. I think Walker is as a defender.
Is that three of us agreeing?
And I think yesterday he was absolutely brilliant in his movement to always offer himself as an outlet in a good position. I thought his overall movement around the pitch yesterday was brilliant. I think Liverpool's problem is they don't just look weak when you run at the centre of their defence. If you pump a ball into their box, they look like they're going to concede. West Ham and Brentford, two games that I've watched. I haven't watched all Liverpool's games, but they popped the ball in their box, and Liverpool look like they've got a 50% chance of conceding. If you get
it was two set pieces that they scored from. It's an accusation I level at Edison quite a lot. And I know Martin has in the past, that he doesn't deal well with crosses into the box and balls in the air. Alisson today was he couldn't deal with Mikel Antonio literally just standing near him from a set piece.
Yeah, because it comes down to that's the way they've been trained and taught from young. Alisson and Edison are carbon copies. The carbon copies, and you can toss a coin who goes into Brazil number one, because they both have the same problems.
Yeah,
and it isn't, and it's no coincidence. Alisson, Brazilian.
Alisson is slightly better as a shot stopper, pure shot stopper.
And Edison's better at distribution.
Edison's better at distribution to a striker. So we don't have one.
It depends what you want for your team.
Put a goalie under pressure. Put either of them under pressure, and they both fold like an house of cards. That tends to happen.
And I think Alisson, is even weaker at the crosses than Edison.
Yeah,
and I think also our defence is more organised and is better in the air.
Listen, I'm gonna spit straight facts while we end this programme in a second.
Yeah.
John Stones is the best. John Stones is the best centre half in the world.
Will be overseen.
I agree.
Liverpool's season will be over by Christmas when they lose their best players. Their only good players.
They have to be 7 or 8 points clear around the 15th of December to have a chance of competing for the league. Yeah. If they're not, if they do not string together 9 or 10 wins now, their season's over.
Because they can't string that together.
Don't tell me that, Rob, because my boss at work has told me they'll be fine over. She didn't even know AFCON was happening, but.
Hey, do you know what, Ryan? I don't think any Liverpool fan has. I don't think a Liverpool fan genuinely has woke up and realised they're about to lose their front men.
Oh, Martin, they beat Preston, and Origi and Minamino played well, so they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I don't think they've got the squad depth of us or Chelsea. I think City and Chelsea have got 17, 18 players who they can mix. As long as they don't rotate too many, they can mix and have a really good side.
I think they have the squad depth. It's just they don't have it in the positions. Like Naby Keita brings the most energy to their midfield when he's fit, and the attack is irreplaceable. Regardless of who it is, it's irreplaceable. And
we're missing something here, gentlemen. We're missing something here. Jordan Henderson is officially in the Guinness Book of Records, known as the world's luckiest man. He has won trophies that people with 10 times his ability haven't won. Jordan Henderson is the worst footballer on the planet. He is the most.
Don't say that.
You look up in the dictionary. You look up in the dictionary the term bang average, and right next to it is a picture of Jordan Henderson. I have to tell you that the only good player that Liverpool have actually got, the rest of them are all hype machines and overrated. The only good player they got is Mo Salah, and Mo Salah's saying bye-bye in January, okay, for a couple of weeks. Thunderbird 4, Virgil van Dijk, played for Celtic. Quite possibly one of the worst teams in the world. He also played for Southampton.
Sold by everyone he plays for.
He also played for Southampton. He has been sold by everybody he's ever played for. He is bang average at best. And the only reason why he got such the hype was because he went to Liverpool. He's average. Ruben Diaz was half his price and 3 times as good. John Stones, half his price, 3 times as good. Even Laporte, a guy that can't even defend anymore because he wants to play for a different club, is better than him. Matip, if you go to the Etihad on a Saturday afternoon and pick someone out the crowd, you'll find a better centre half than Matip. Andy Robertson played for Hull, and that's his level. Trent Alexander-Arnold only gets to play for Liverpool. Only gets to play for Liverpool because he's the only guy brought up on Merseyside that's not currently in a young offenders institute or prison. Come on, they're shit. They'll be done by Christmas, and they're awful. I can't stand them. The fans are the worst on the planet because bloody hell. Let me tell you something, right? Let me tell you something about Liverpool. When James Milner played for Manchester City, everybody said, bang average, boring James Milner. Yeah? That's all they ever said about James Milner. Bang average, boring, played for Leeds, played for City, bang average, boring. Every single time Milner played for England at that time, everyone was like, why is Milner playing for England? Why is Milner playing for England? The second James Milner moves to Liverpool, he becomes the best left-back in the world, the best midfielder in the world, the best auxiliary striker in the world, and he should be in every England team. That's Liverpool for you. They're a bunch of absolute hype merchants, right? And their biggest fan on the planet, who doesn't even know where Stanley Park is, Mr. Youssef, who's normally in our chat like a bloody rash, he's not here tonight. He's not here tonight because his team have lost. We're not English, we're Scouse. Great. Give us our benefits back and do one. Right, gentlemen, final thoughts.
Well, final thoughts. The league.
You've just overtaken Rich for your Winston Churchill.
The league is coming back to the Etihad, the title. I'm feeling more confident than ever. I think it's been a brilliant weekend for us going into the international break. City are going to win the league. Said it before the season. I'll say it again now. You can start preparing your plans for your May celebrations.
Yep, for the most part, I agree. Last week we dropped points, but Liverpool also dropped points, which probably helped us a bit. This week we got the win, and both our closest rivals for the title have dropped points. So it's been a good weekend for City.
Yeah.
Facts.
And we don't have to hear about Liverpool's 25-game unbeaten run anymore.
Facts. Right. It's an international break this week, so there won't be any Get City games that we're going to be doing. There's content coming throughout the week. Thursday night stream and next Sunday. Tomorrow night we are doing a FIFA programme. Martin's starting the pro clubs tomorrow night. So be there. Tune in. There'll be other random FIFA streams. There'll be other random FIFA streams during the week. This week we're also recording. Oh, look at that! Even Rich has got FIFA 22. This week, by the way, Pro Clubs is on PlayStation, so please join us on PlayStation. If you don't have a PlayStation, throw your Xbox out the window and beg your parents to go and steal you a PlayStation. Other than that, we're recording a European football video. Yes, tomorrow is on Twitch. We're recording a European video this week, and there are other projects in the pipeline. We love it, love it, love it. We love all of you people. We think you're wonderful. Martin is talking over me. He can wait. I know that he wants to make a point. We think you're all wonderful people, and we can't wait to see you again soon. I hope that you love our videos because we love making them. And we love and adore every single one of you. Manchester City, the greatest football team on the planet. Jay Fresh, I love you, buddy. Sean, I love you, buddy. Other Sean, I love you, buddy. Majestic Shambles, I love you. Charlie, you're wonderful. FIFA.m, subscribe to Developer, you're wonderful too. Chris Baker, Man City Till I Die, all of you are absolute legends. Martin, make your point, take us out, baby boy. I forgot to do an outro again this week because I'm an idiot. Michael Feeney, I love you too, mate.
8 o'clock on Twitch will be FIFA Pro. It is in the chat, City4 Live 32. If you want to join, send it over, come and join. It'd be great to have you on board. It will be live. It's going to be a couple of hours of absolute fun, laugh, and humiliation. I want to thank everyone for this brilliant weekend. It's been a fabulous weekend. The channel is motoring down the railroad. We're having fun. We're enjoying it down the rail.
Motoring down the railroad. Nice analogy.
Motoring down the railroad.
Or analog. Is it an analog or an analogy? I'll have to look that one up.
Big thank you to everyone who's been supporting. Keep hitting that subscribe button. Keep telling your friends. Keep hitting that thumbs up or thumbs down if you don't like it. But at least tell us why you don't like it so we can change that.
Get in the comments. Comments are great. If you write a comment, we always respond and it gives us great feedback. We love you all. Thank you very much. Good night, gentlemen. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There's no outro. I screwed up. I forgot to add it. I forgot to add the outro again, so just pretend there's an outro. I'll make an outro right now, live. Are you ready for it? Do 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 do. Don't forget to tune in to our shows. Look at the 20. It's wonderful. Do 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 do. Bye bye. Bye.